Do you want us? Yeah, we're live now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Can we see the list of attendees, Pablo, or not? Are we just streaming live?
Streaming live. I think there's 3 attendees at the moment, 7 now.
Okay, brilliant. Should we maybe give it literally a minute or so and then we can just kick off, just wait for people to join?
Yeah, sounds good.
People can hear Tank.
They can or can't?
Can.
They can, okay, good.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think we kick off then. Tank, we're coming into 3 minutes in.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get started then. Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. Really pleased that you're able to join this, and thank you for taking the time. Really appreciate the time that you've taken, and thank you for Nicola as well for presenting with me. We have some really exciting things to share with you around call centers and OpenAI's use case around that. I think first of all, let's just go through a quick introduction towards myself and Nicola. So my name is Tancredi DePreto, but as everyone knows me here as Tank, that you can also call me that in the chat if you'd like. I'm an Azure Data and AI specialist here at Microsoft, and I'm here along with Nicola Driscoll.
Hi guys, hi everyone on the call. Thanks for your time today. So I've been at Microsoft for 5 years and I'm one of the Azure Data and AI leads. Obviously Data and AI being front and center of Azure OpenAI. So it's great to take you guys through today. We have someone on the line taking a list of kind of Q&A as we go. So if there's any questions that you've got, pop it in the chat. And Elizabeth Hall, one of our colleagues, thank you, Lizzie. We'll take a note of those questions just to make sure we cover everything. Thank you, Tank. Back to you.
Awesome. So today we have a really jam-packed session for you. First of all, before we get into anything customer call center related, I'm going to take you through a bit about OpenAI as an overview and just to go through an explanation of what generative AI really is. I'm sure we've all heard about ChatGPT, but for those of you who may not be aware of its capabilities, of OpenAI services in general, of what capabilities we have to offer together in partnership, I'll go over that within the first section. Next, I'll hand over to Nicola, who will go over OpenAI services within the context of the customer call center. So just to give you also a customer scenario with giving also return on investment as to what OpenAI was able to do for that customer. And then finally, I'll go over a piece around responsible AI. So why that matters and how you could actually implement that within a customer call center situation as well. And then finally, we'll have 15 minutes to have a discussion, Q&A. Any of the questions that you'll be putting into the chat box, we'll be able to answer that. And we have also some general questions that we get quite often that we'll be covering the answer to. So before we get kickstarted into what OpenAI and generative AI is, I want to take a step back for us to really understand where AI has come from, and just to get a sense that AI has been around for quite some time, even all the way back since 1956 when the first AI program was created. And just to give you an idea of what this AI was able to do, at the time it was able to just simply play a game of checkers. But since then, it's come quite a long way. So in 1997, we had such a thing as machine learning, which I'm sure you've probably heard of. This was introduced to allow AI to learn from data and make decisions without being explicitly programmed. Fast forward all the way to 2017, we have deep learning. So deep learning, what essentially it is, it's the next step forward of machine learning, where it allows AI to learn from a large amounts of data and to make decisions without human intervention. So this major breakthrough in AI technology is similar to, I like to think about it as a child developing neural networks throughout their infancy, learning from their mistakes, improving, and so on. And that brings us to generative AI. Now, generative AI is something, is what OpenAI technology is grounded on. So just to give you an example of what generative AI really looks like, all of these images that you see on this slide were generated by OpenAI's DALL-E 2 image generation. So I asked it to generate a picture of what artificial intelligence looked like in 1956, what machine looks like in an abstract format, what deep learning looks like with neural networks, and I asked it to generate a very abstract image of what OpenAI looks like, of what generative AI looks like. So this is just to give you an idea as to what the power of generative AI looks like, really. I even asked it to generate a talk track for me for this exact presentation, for this exact slide I've just given you. So it's not just image generation, it's also text and content generation. And just to go over as well what OpenAI services offers in general. First of all, OpenAI is a research organization which is created to democratize AI in a responsible manner. So it's leading the market today in research and in generating large language models. Azure OpenAI is available today for Azure users and consists of 4 components. 1, which is pre-trained generative AI models. 2, customization capabilities. So the ability to fine-tune your AI models with your own data. Think about also the ability to have built-in tools to detect and mitigate harmful use cases so users can implement AI responsibly. And this is something really that we're going to be talking about later on in our discussion about why responsible AI is so important to your AI deployment practices. And finally, also we have enterprise-grade security with role-based access control and private networks. So it's not just having ChatGPT on Azure. It's much more than that. You get all of those enterprise-grade features that you get with Azure. So OpenAI's generative AI technology comprises of 4 separate solutions, that being GPT-3. So this is a generative pre-trained model. It enables you to generate and understand text. Codex is a really good solution for coders, so they're able to seamlessly generate and understand their code. We also have DALL-E 2. So very much what I did with those images in the first slide that I presented to you, that was done with DALL-E. So this solution is to generate images from simple text prompts. And finally, we've all heard of this one in the news, and I'm sure you had to play around with it. ChatGPT, which has just come into preview mode and is available today. And this is very similar to how you probably use ChatGPT in real life with the ChatGPT API. Next, we have Azure AI Interface. So OpenAI is not a standalone feature. It's not a standalone solution. It's a solution which fits in within our entire Azure AI stack. So you can think about Azure OpenAI service as a complementary solution to all the Azure AI services that we have already pre-built onto Azure AI that you can already start implementing today. Next, we have an exclusive. I'd like to cover the exclusive partnership that we have with OpenAI. So that makes it only available on Microsoft's Azure cloud platform. So onto Nicola.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tank. Let me just take control. There we go. Requested. Okay. The power is in my hands. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of just bring this into a customer scenario. Okay, I manage a couple of Microsoft UK's largest media and telecommunications customers. So Tank set the scene lovely in terms of the partnership, what we're offering, why Microsoft, why Azure OpenAI. But actually, let's take this into a customer scenario. And just to be super clear, all of the metrics that I go through, all the value, all the benefits that I'm going to bring up are real life customer scenarios and metrics and benefits and values, etc. So I will just go on to the next slide. That's not changing for me. So let me just...
I'll do that for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Tank. So McKinsey definitely done a recent study recently in terms of actually the importance of that customer experience. As we know, post-COVID, businesses are changing. They've had to change the way they do business. And one of those key pillars is that customer experience and the customer centricity, right? We can no longer do face-to-face meetings, customer scenarios, have that kind of intimacy with our customers that we've all relied and depend on, kind of pre-COVID, right? So customers and enterprises have had to embrace that, even if they weren't quite ready to. So that digital transformation piece is absolutely expedited, and that's the beauty of Microsoft and Azure OpenAI when it comes to that end-to-end customer scenario and that customer experience. You know, moments that matter. I think in terms of our enterprises, the difference between some of those succeeding and failing is that customer loyalty and that customer satisfaction piece. We are seeing customers and consumers probably being less loyal. The market's more hungry. The market's so much more competitive because it has to be because of the economy. So actually getting closer to customers, keeping them satisfied, keeping customers locked in for the right reasons is paramount. There's a couple of key highlights I want to bring out on this survey that McKinsey done, and it's around driving simplified customer experience whilst reducing call volumes and costs and building out digital care and advanced analytics ecosystems. So those three key KPIs, if we align them closely to Azure OpenAI and the customer call center environment, they're the three kind of KPIs and kind of areas of challenges that customers have. This particular customer I'm going to take you through the scenario is a global telecommunications customer. And that's obviously one of the hugest areas of burden of cost and investment alongside networking and how to run and the investment of customer call centers. The cost, the time, the people, the always on mentality, the energy savings that they're producing from that as well. These are huge areas of kind of burdens of cost and areas that customers need to look to essentially unlock cost savings and operational efficiencies from. So McKinsey's kind of set that up quite nicely in terms of how we can use Azure OpenAI to do that. Tank, if you can just go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So our customer came to us and said, Microsoft, can you help us with 4 key areas we really need to look at? Telcos, along with actually a lot of different enterprises, regardless of industries, are operating on really, really tight margins and keeping their customers happy, locked in, but also getting their products to market quicker, gaining like a unique selling point, USPs over their competition, increasing revenues within the customer. These are all areas actually, regardless of what industry you're all in on the call, actually are quite applicable, okay? So challenge number 1 was how can we lower operational costs? We all hear this kind of terminology recently, which is doing more with less, obviously, you know, taking into account the economic climate, the way that we're doing business at the minute, and the vitality of actually doing more with less. That doesn't necessarily mean doing more things with less people. It means actually doing more with your business with less investment needed into technology. So what technology have you got? What investments have you made? And how can we as Microsoft help you do more with that? Help you go into different areas of the business, increase your market share, increase revenues, as I say, get your products into market quicker, get that competitive edge over your competition. The second point that the customer challenged us with was around increasing that operational efficiency. So we're talking about a customer call center. So we're talking around human agents, call center agents sitting in a call center, managing calls from you and I around our mobility tariffs, for instance, being overcharged, data bundles not added on when it needs to be, my device is lost or stolen. So actually, how can we unlock some operational efficiencies within that customer call center journey with those agents and inject or re-inject those agents into other areas of a business area, which actually can be more impactful? For instance, focusing those call center agents on customers that have a propensity to churn to your competition. So just re-injecting them, repurposing them to more kind of business valuable areas. Third on the list that the customer challenges with is increasing NPS. So this is net promoter scoring. It's more terminology that is applicable within the telco industry, but we can kind of extrapolate this and use it through any industry, right? So it's essentially around customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. Again, back to the McKinsey study, that whole customer experience. How can we heighten that? How can we increase that? How can we ensure that that experience is seamless and our customers are happy and content, will come back to us and actually spend more with us? So that was, and also NPS and customer satisfaction is kind of one of the 3 KPIs on the board's agenda for this telco company. So this was absolutely probably paramount, and it was actually probably point 1 that we needed to help them achieve and actually increase that NPS. Last but not least, it's gain deeper insights into customer bases. So understanding your customers. We at Microsoft see this all the times. Every single customer, regardless of size, scale, region, industry, have vast amounts of data on their customers and consumers. But actually, it's what are our customers doing with that data? Well, actually, some of our customers don't really know where to start, how to unlock it, how to get intelligence out of that data, but actually use that intelligence for business valuable areas, right? How can we use that intelligence to target a specific region or target a specific area of a consumer, cross-sell, upsell, customers that may be going to your competition? So it's actually helping customers use that data in more of an intelligent way and actually building a kind of platform around that to help those customers increase revenues and get closer to the customers. Next slide, please, Tank. So what was the solution? How did Microsoft and Azure OpenAI help this particular customer in a call center scenario? So we worked with the customer for around probably 4 to 6 months, working hand in glove with the customer, using Azure OpenAI, basically supercharging customer call center transcriptions. So essentially, just to give you an example and bring this to real life, I call into a customer call center. I have an issue. I've been overcharged on my mobile bill. I'm not happy. I'm quite impatient. My frame of mind is less than pleased when I call through to this customer call center. So the agent picks up the call. For instance, that call could last 15 minutes. So with the help of Azure OpenAI, we were able to basically condense that 15-minute calls. So if you imagine a 15-minute call between a call center agent and a customer, if that call is transcribed into text, that's probably between 1 and 2 pages of text. So if I'm not happy with the resolution that call advisor has offered me and I want to be passed to an escalation point, a manager, Azure OpenAI can condense those 2 pages of transcribed call summary on my initial call into 1 or 2 very short condensed paragraphs of text. So by the time my call goes through to the second call center agent, at that point, I'm quite impatient. I'm probably even less than pleased when I first joined the call. They can very quickly and very smoothly read through 2 paragraphs of text and understand why I'm calling, what my issue is, and quickly resolve that issue. So what that does, back to the customer experience point of view, is actually when you've got customers that are in a frame of mind that is less than ideal, you want to make sure that that journey is seamless, right? And you want to get them off the call as quick as you can, but actually with the most satisfied resolution. So with the power of Azure OpenAI, that unlocks and slims down what could be a very difficult call center journey experience, calling into a call center and taking a lot of time to actually fault to resolve far quicker, and actually so much quicker and easier for a call center agent to pick up why a furious customer is maybe less than pleased, to resolve that. So that end-to-end experience, we're trying to make it seamless, we're trying to make it instant, and we're trying to make the customer basically as happy as possible from that left to right view. If you can just go on to the next slide, Tank, and I'll take the customers through a little bit of a higher level view of what the architecture looks like. So this is super simple. This is obviously a typical call center analytics solution. So when we're talking about call centers, this could be a call center to consumers, other enterprises. It may even be an internal call center, the internal IT help desk call center, right? Or it could be a HR call center, depending on your industry or your nature of business. This is applicable to all industries. The size and the scale will be slightly different, but this is a typical call center analytics end-to-end solution that I'll take you through. At the heart, Tank already touched on it previously, at the heart of it is our cognitive services piece. So in this instance, speech to text, Azure speech to text is one of the Azure cognitive services that worked hand in glove with Azure OpenAI. And essentially they supercharged each other to essentially offer this call center summarization and condensing minutes and minutes worth of calls and text into 2 short, snappy paragraphs. A little bit more about the kind of complementary solutions that Tank touched on previously. We've obviously got Power BI Insights, which essentially touches on dashboard and reporting. So what is the output of this customer call center journey? What's the input of the stats? So just to give you an example, this particular customer used Power BI as almost the dashboarding back to various C-suites in various countries around actually how long does it typically take for a call to be resolved? What are the 10 key pain points that customers are calling in about? A little bit about sentiment analysis, a little bit about actually what are the main net new growth opportunities. People are calling up. We can scan those calls for the likes of they're going to a competition, so they might want to put their main competitors in there. What names keep coming up? You know, churn modeling, retention modeling. So there's really, I mean, what you can do with Power BI is quite endless. So you've got the data in the middle and the intelligent transcription, and actually you can set up any Power BI dashboard and visuals to give you a short, snappy view of that vast customer and consumer data, which is super powerful. And customers can use that to the CFO to give them a short snapshot. Customer call center agents, customer call center transformation directors. Where should we be focusing, injecting more people? Where should we be focusing on areas of our business of growth? What are our customers asking for? What's their pain points? How do we need to maybe re-engineer parts of our business to make our customers and that customer experience more seamless? So that's a very, very powerful tool with the kind of endpoint and visuals on it. The CRM, obviously the customer relationship management platform, and that is very powerful when it comes to the intelligent transcription and the data that we collect, that we can help you collect with your customers and your consumers. And just to know, customers that are using Azure OpenAI, they don't need to have the Microsoft view left to right. And the reason I mention this is, don't look at the architecture and think, well, actually we use other for Power BI, or we use other for our CRM system. It doesn't need to be Microsoft left to right, but to Tank's point, the benefits of that is actually we can really help you unlock investments, and actually the integration between all our product sets, of course, are complementary, right? And it just makes this solution even more powerful when it comes to life. Tank, next slide, please. So a little bit about kind of benefits and value, which I'll rattle through because I know I'm running close to time. So there's operational costs and then there's cost saving metrics. But what are the operational benefits? Now, each one of these benefits are not hypothetical benefits. These are benefits that have been brought up from our customer, and this has resulted in the benefits and cost savings and all around the kind of operational valuable piece. So lowering that operational cost, if you think about it, the amount of call handlers you have in a call center, if we can unlock and save hours and hours of time, we can either repurpose those individuals, in this case we did, to other areas of your business. So for instance, we can focus 10% of your call center agents on customer churn. So target those customers that are maybe due for renewal in the next 3 months. Proactively target them, offer them a discount to lock them into a mobile tariff for another 2 or 3 years. And we could use those call center agents to then proactively go after and upsell. So for instance, data bundles, voice minutes, roaming minutes. using those call center agents to then go in and boost revenues and profits for this particular telco provider. Better call insights, I just discussed this a little bit, is understanding your customer, understanding what they're asking for more, understanding their frustrations, and that can help you build a whole end-to-end customer experience far more seamlessly and get what your customers are asking for far quicker than you can ever imagine. Giving our consumers and our customers a competitive edge. In this instance, Azure OpenAI was able to actually give this consumer and this customer a competitive edge against other telco providers in their industry. No one today is utilising Azure OpenAI like this particular customer is. So this absolutely is a unique selling point for that whole customer experience and that net promoter scoring and customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. Tank, last and final slide for me, please. If you just build this up, I'll talk through it. That's it. Brilliant. Thank you, Tank. So this is probably the most compelling slide that I really wanted to leave you with and land on. These are hard metric cost savings from this customer environment. So this isn't figures that we've plucked out there for this solution to look even more compelling than it is. These are real world cost savings that we delivered back to this customer. Some highlights on this slide. So this customer call center, there was 30,000 calls going through this customer call center on average a day. So that's 30,000 calls. We were able, with Azure OpenAI, to reduce those calls on average by 1 minute per call. So essentially that delivered back to this customer 500 hours every single day of a call center agent's time. So by condensing those call center transcriptions and the time that it takes for an agent to read through the initial transcriptions to then go and offer a solution to the customer, we were able to reduce that by 500 hours a day. This is one call center in one country. So just to give you a real view of what that looks like in hard monetary savings for this customer, that delivered, and the reason this is so 7.5 million to 6.5 is it depends on volumes, but even if we took the worst case scenario, $7.5 million per annum, this solution delivered to customer. Best case is going to be 16.5, depending on how much call volumes they put through. So I think you probably all agree on the calls, regardless of size and scale, these kind of cost savings are absolutely phenomenal, baked into all the other operational value add and cost savings. So that kind of wraps up the ROI. Thank you very much, Tank. I will hand back to you.
Thank you, Nicola. So we've seen the innovations that we can do with OpenAI service on Azure within a call center context of summarizing those calls. And I think there's a lot of innovation that's going to be seen around this particular use case. And we hope that you can see that the value of this innovation as well. But I like to sometimes take a step back and think, what is, where does responsible AI play into these use cases? You know, we always talk about the importance of making AI innovation meaningful. And we always discuss the application of these meaningful innovations to empower our people. But I'd like to look at the ethical side of what it means to define, build, and use AI responsibly. So designing AI to be trustworthy requires creating solutions that reflect ethical principles that are deeply rooted in important and timeless values. And presented here are 6 principles and Microsoft's approach to what responsible AI should look like. And I'd like to start with, I'd like to share an example of each one of these that relates back to what Nicola was talking about around this specific call center scenario of summarizing call transcripts. So starting with the principle of fairness, I'd like to think of Azure OpenAI service being used to summarize call center transcripts. The AI should be trained to treat all customers fairly and avoid any potential biases. So the AI system should, in essence, provide consistent, unbiased summaries for all customers' calls, regardless of the customer's personal characteristics. If we think about the reliability and safety side of things, it's crucial for the OpenAI service to operating reliably and safely under normal and unexpected circumstances in the call center. So it always has to be reliably operating on a reliable basis. So the system should essentially be designed and tested to handle large volumes of calls and accurately summarize each of the calls within a few sentences. In terms of privacy and security, still with the same example, it should be designed to protect customer data first and foremost, and it should ensure the privacy and security of call center transcripts. So the system should be built entirely with a robust security measures to ensure the customer data is protected from unauthorized access or breaches. So essentially, the system in its should also comply with relevant data privacy regulations, of course. In terms of inclusivity, in this call center summarization use case, it should be used to be inclusive and accessible to customers with disabilities. So at Microsoft, we're very adamant about inclusivity and accessibility, right? But I think this should also trickle down to how our customers implement AI systems, especially with advances in and what this can bring for customers who have disabilities. And I think the key message here is that systems should be trained to accurately summarize calls with different speech patterns or hearing impairments. So that's also something very important to take into consideration. And underpinning all those four previous principles, we have the principles of transparency and accountability. Now, these are two principles that underpin these because they're quite probably the most important ones of starting with transparency with the same use case. Think of the use of AI services to summarize call center transcripts. Think about how they should be used and how these AI services should be clearly communicated to the customers, right? They need to be aware of how their calls are being processed. As well, from an internal perspective, the agents who are using these to summarize should also understand how the summaries are generated. And they should also be able to identify potential issues within those summaries. So you still, as Nicola was saying, you still, it's not doing more with less, meaning you need less people. You still need that human aspect. You still need that human aspect to identify some potential issues. When you implement the solution as well, you have to be honest and forthcoming about the use of this AI technology in the customer call center. And lastly, in terms of accountability, this is a shared accountability between Microsoft and the call center. So for you, this should be the accountability for accuracy and fairness of the summaries generated by the AI services is something that's shared between both parties. And if the AI service is found to be generating something such as inaccuracies or biases, both responsive parties should take steps to address these issues, and we should work to prevent it from happening in the future. So it's that constant need for making sure that the AI is reliable as well. And finally, using those summaries, the use of the summaries by the agents should also be monitored so that to ensure that they're using that information that they're taking, they should be using that ethically and responsibly. So to help you understand how you can use these, how you can implement responsible AI practices, I put in 2 links here that you can have take a look at. They're quite good for understanding how you can implement them today. And just as a whole, AI is quite different from any other technology in its proximity to human intelligence and its power for both harm and good. How to develop AI responsibly I see this driving my conversations I have with my customers as well, and I see this every day. But you can help create that clarity across your organization by setting up principles, following the principles that we help you to enact. And ultimately, if there's one thing you should take away from this topic of responsible AI, is that we should ensure that AI-based technologies are designed and deployed in a manner that will earn the trust of those who are not only using them, and from the individuals whose data is being collected. So some final key takeaways from what we've seen with what Nicola addressed earlier. OpenAI service will innovate the customer call center environment, and I hope you can see that the innovation will bring positive change for all for customers as well as the ROI that you can build on top of that. And as well, Microsoft can support you throughout this process. And you know, AI, I'm sure you've heard about the talk that the AI revolution is now, and we're here to support you to build and modify and make sure that as well you're building responsible you're building responsible AI systems. So Microsoft is here to support you. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to ask them.
Brilliant. I think just to add to a couple of those key takeaways, Tank, I think it's super important, right, for everyone on this call. Microsoft with OpenAI, the partnership at the minute is unparalleled. So there are no other cloud companies, there's no other cloud offering companies out there that are doing what we are doing because of the level of partnership we have with OpenAI, as Tank touched on previously, and it's super important to mention this. OpenAI utilize the Azure suite and the technology to basically power their service offering. So that's how much OpenAI as a company relies and depends and trusts Microsoft. So I think the partnership between both organizations is absolutely at the moment unparalleled. So any questions or queries any of the customers have got on the call, we have a whole team, as I'm sure you're aware, behind us in terms of architects, specialist support. We've got a whole plethora of our partner ecosystem. So we can absolutely work through some proof of concepts, some business cases, use cases that you may have with the wealth of resources that we have in and around us, to basically supercharge Azure OpenAI and start delivering value and benefit back for your businesses, because that's the key, right? Azure OpenAI is super cool, it's super sexy, everyone wants to talk about it, but we need to deliver the business benefit and value back to you and your C-suite, and that's something that we can help do, absolutely. I think there may be some Q&A. I know we had some questions earlier, didn't we? Tank posted through from some of the previous customers. Okay, so Pablo, this may be one for you, but I don't know this off the top of my head, so I'm not going to pretend. Ravi's asking how frequently the base models will get updated in Azure OpenAI.
We don't have that info.
Okay, I will take that one away, Ravi. If you maybe provide your information to any one of us, we'll come back to you directly on that. Thank you for your questions, guys. Just a couple of the common questions that we've been sent through from various customers that both Tank and I interact with. Little bit about sensitivity of data is a question that I'm sure is on the tip of everyone's lips on the call, but actually we're getting asked a lot around this about what do we do with the data, how do we use that data? So essentially Microsoft don't store or hold or do anything with any customer data that is used in the training of the modeling. So we don't use any customer data in any training that we do. That is wholly owned by our customers, that is held on your premises, and that has everything to do with you. So we don't use that for any training models on any of our Azure OpenAI solution suites. So any of the three, we don't use those. That's completely customer centric and focused and owned. How do we get started using Azure OpenAI? I'm laughing because actually we probably get asked this. I probably get asked it twice a day at the moment, right? I think we're dreaming about it. But the easiest way to probably explain is reach out to your Microsoft contact. At the moment, Azure OpenAI, we absolutely need to approve which customers are looking to utilize Azure OpenAI. To Tank's point on the presentation, the slides that he showed, the cultural sensitivity and actually the applying it ethically and adopting our ethical principles needs to be on point. So we're working with customers to understand what are you using it for, and how are you going to deploy it, how's it going to be used in your business. So just to make sure that Azure OpenAI is being used in the right way, and we're adopting the right principles. So essentially it's all on a request service at the moment. So if you reach out to your Microsoft contact, whoever that may be, your account manager, your architect, your customer satisfaction team, reach out to them and they can request it from a product group. We can get you on the list, albeit we need a little bit of patience because we're getting quite a queue at the moment from customers wanting to get approved and start using it and playing about with Azure OpenAI. So if you get that approved, it'll probably be maybe between 1 or 2 weeks. So we use Google for our analytics across our business. And how do you guys compete? Again, we get asked this a lot. It may be, you know, we can swap out Google and put any of the other cloud providers in there. As I said previously, the partnership, the compelling, powerful partnership we have with Microsoft and OpenAI at the minute is unparalleled. So no other company, no other cloud competition's got out there in terms of what they can do. So and that's including Google, right? I think everyone would have seen their most recent announcement of adopting some of those kind of technologies a few weeks back. And I suppose you can see how that goes in the marketplace at the minute. But in terms of the powerful partnership between Microsoft, Azure OpenAI, it is unparalleled. As I say, it's so sticky and integrated that it just makes sense at the moment. So in terms of what do you do to get started from us? So essentially, we would work with you with our architect team and with our specialist team that is aligned to Azure OpenAI, and really help you with an ideation session. So a lot of the things that I'm doing with my customers, and Tank, I'll hand over to you shortly, but a lot of we're kind of doing ideation sessions with a customer. So an example of one of my customers has come to me with 15 different use cases that they want to use Azure OpenAI across. And that's great, but those 15 use cases are definitely not going to deliver that business value and benefit piece back to them. So it's essentially getting in a room, even like half day or a couple hour workshop, working through those use cases that they feel are important and paramount to them, and actually then condensing those 15 odd use cases down to a focused, maybe 2 or 3. So what are your KPIs that the customer's trying to deliver, and how can we pin that back to those use cases? So is it around, I don't know, getting close to your customers, reducing customer churn, reducing call volumes, media and marketing campaigns, for instance? How can we help and leverage Azure OpenAI to slim down like a pitch process when you're applying to pitch to your net new customers? So regarding obviously what industry you're in, the use case will be different, but literally we can sit down, even partner-led, or we can get our architect community aligned and actually do an ideation and agree on those 2-3 use cases that are going to deliver the most and maximum value and impact back to your business, and work on you to develop those into proof of concepts and then essentially move them into production as soon as we can to help delivering that value back to you. Tank, I know I've covered off all of them, but is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, just echoing what you were just saying. I think it's really important. You know, when I'm talking to my customers about OpenAI, you know, there's a whole lot of excitement, but I think it's very important not to create more tech debt, more tech for the sake of tech. It's really important to get not just a fun, innovative idea, but something that's really going to bring business value. So we have with my customers, we're going through that same ideation process together. It's quite a fun creative piece, but it's also very important to know that it's not just generative AI just for the sake of it. This can bring a lot of business value, and we're working very closely. And I think it's important for everyone on the call, you know, if you have Microsoft contact, to work with whoever you are in contact with, to say, hey, I want to do this. I want to work together. I want to make sure that this brings innovation, and that I'm ahead of the curve in terms of my competitive advantage.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tank.
Other than that, I think, are there any more Q&A questions? Are there any more questions in the chat?
Yeah, there's just one by Madden on essentially translation of OpenAI. So the call center transcriptions, essentially, if they come through in English, could we, for instance, translate those to German? Yes, absolutely, we can. We support a whole host of languages, which we can, after this call, if you're interested in what the list of languages that are supported are, we can supply that to you. So I think that's probably most of the questions. There are a couple of questions on here, guys, that actually we'll record and take note, and we'll make sure that you get answers back on, and cover those off with you. Brilliant. Anything to add from anyone else, Pablo or Tank? Because I think we're pretty much covered everything.
Nothing else for me, no.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I'll close the call. As I say, any questions or queries, just reach out to your first point of contact within the Microsoft team, whoever that may be. They'll filter it back to myself and Tank or your wider support team. But thank you very much for listening. Thanks for your support today, and we're super excited on this partnership. And let's help you guys get started utilising Azure OpenAI in your business. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.